Excuse me. New York Times bestselling series. Why do I read that a lot on every single cover of a very popular book? At least the cover is pretty cool. The City of Ember. The Diamond of Darkhold. Oh, wait, the last book, book number 2. The second book of Ember was called People of Sparks, or The People of Sparks. And this is The Diamond of Darkhold, the third book of Ember, by Jean Duprat. Well, it's the fourth book she wrote about the book series, but the third in chronological order. The third book she wrote on the City of Ember was a prequel to the first two books, and this was written years later. Anyways, the City of Ember, Diamond of Darkhold, the third book of Ember. The Vault. Around the middle of the 21st century, when it seemed that a great catastrophe was about to engulf the world, an underground city was built as a last refuge for the human race. It was called the City of Ember. The builders, who designed the city and constructed it, tried to cast their minds into the future, not only to imagine what the residents of the city would need for the many years they'd live there, but also to imagine what life might be like for them. Excuse me. When they came back out into the world above ground. It was this later question that was on the chief builder's mind on a day when the city was nearly finished and global tensions were rising fast. He summoned his assistant to discuss it. When the people emerge from the city, he said, they will find them they will find them they will find themselves in a devastated world. Unfortunately true, said his assistant. Life would be very hard for them, said the chief builder, who was the kind of a who was the kind of person who worried about the well-being of others. I'm wondering if there's something we can do to give them a head start. The assistant waited, raising his eyebrows politely. Excuse me. Excuse me again. I have an I. I have an idea, the chief builder said. My idea is to give them one thing from today's world, one of our newest inventions that we know they'll need. Excellent, said the assistant, who had no clue what that one thing might be. We need a location, the chief builder said. Not far from the exit spot. Where, where we can build a vault into the side of the mountain. We'll put a timed lock on its door, of course, so that it won't be accessible until it should be, just as in our plan for the instructions for egress. The vault should be placed so that the citizens of Ember will come across it when they emerge. Certainly, said the assistant. He made one note. Select location. But will people who have lived in Ember know what to do with um, the contents of the vault? Probably, probably not, said the chief builder. Naturally. And naturally, I have thought of that. We'll provide a printed book explaining in detail everything they'll need to know. I see, said the assistant. Good. A good plan. So it was done. A large steel lined room was built into the side of the mountain and stocked according to the chief builder's instructions. Then the door was sealed. Despite the builder's fears, the catastrophe did not happen immediately. The mid century crisis eased. 50 years later, however, the world came once more to the brink of war, and the government put its plan into action. Volunteers were assembled, couples were formed, and babies were given to each couple. The city of Ember received its first inhabitants. The bombs fell. Cities burned all over the world. People died in the millions, and plagues and famines and floods reduced even further the numbers of those who were left. It was many, many years before the scattered survivors of the disaster began to rebuild any sort of civilization. The people of Ember came out of their underground cities somewhat later than planned, because they were in a state of bewilderment and exhaustion when they emerged, and because trees had grown up where trees hadn't been before. They failed to notice the door to the vault. They trudged away over the hills until they arrived at the village of Sparks, where, after a struggle, they took up their lives anew. Instead, it was a roamer who discovered the vault. The door wasn't locked. He opened it and went inside, where he found one thing that was interesting, which he took, and one thing that was not interesting: a large, heavy book with small print. Like many people in those times, he had lost the skill of reading. He flipped the book open and scowled at its pages. Should he take it or not? Yes, he decided. He might be able to sell it someday. If not, he could use it for starting fires.